Hey everybody, I'm going to go over a couple of the Deltamath questions because some of you are telling me you're confused and I don't want you to feel super confused. I want to kind of walk you through this. So because these questions are asking you to round to the nearest tenth, it means we have to do them algebraically. So this first one that I grabbed, it's looking for that max height. So remember, for the max height, you're looking for that vertex, and the max height is going to be the y value of that vertex. The x value is going to give me the time. The y value is going to give me the actual height. So when I'm looking at this, the first thing I'm going to do to get the x value is to do that negative b over 2a. So in this case, it's going to be negative 160 over 2 times my negative 16. So what's that? Negative 160 over negative 32. So when I do 160 divided by 32, enter, I'm going to get 5. That actually worked out nicer than I thought. So that was a nice answer. So I'm going to get 5. Then what you do is you plug the 5 back up into your equation. So I'm going to do negative 16 times 5 squared plus 160 times my 5. Sorry, I can't do this quicker. Plus 51. Before I hit enter, I'm just going to double check and make sure I have everything, and I'm going to hit enter. And there's my 451. So therefore your y value is 451, and that is going to be my max height. They did say around the nearest foot, sorry, the nearest tenth of a foot. Technically your answer is 451. Oops, sorry guys, I should have turned that off. I'll turn it off now. Good. All right, it should have been 451.0, but I did look at Deltamath. It said 451. My curiosity is if you put 451.0, it shouldn't have marked you wrong. All right, I'm going to try another one with decimals. So this is, again, the max height. It's a different question. Sorry, my equation's really tiny over here. I didn't grab it so big, but I'm going to do the same idea. I'm going to get that x value. So x is equal to negative b over 2a. To find that a value. So in this case, it's negative 246 divided by 2 times that negative 16. So it's that negative 246. I lost my 1, divided by negative 32. So 246 divided by 32. Enter. So I'm going to get, now this is the conversation I want to have. So the value that you're going to now plug in, even though they're telling you to round to the nearest tenth of a foot, you have to plug in that full answer into this equation. So I'm going to show you how to do it using this answer button down at the bottom. So again, I'm going to put in my negative 16. So this is my equation. And I'm going to plug in, I want to multiply it by second answer. It's going to take the previous answer. So no matter how long and ugly that answer is, you can use that answer button, plus 256 times second answer plus 100. And that's a good thing to know about your calculator. Oops, I'm going to delete one of these. All right, and I'm going to hit enter, and I'm going to get 1045.56, and that's the answer you're supposed to get. Rounded to the nearest tenth, your 5 is going to become a 6. So you got 1045.6 is your max height. Okay, so again, you're using your axis of symmetry to get that x value, and then you have to take that full x value, and that's what gets plugged in order to solve for your y value. And that you round one time and only one time. All right, so those are 2 questions that dealt with you getting a maximum height. This question is asking you how much time it took for the rocket to hit the ground. So that's when you're looking for that x-intercept. That's when you make your y value 0 and you're going to solve. I'm going to solve using my quadratic formula. I do think that these, in general, all of you are having an easier time with. I don't think this is the harder one. So I'm going to use my whole x equals negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a, and you really just have to plug in carefully. So again, my negative b value plus or minus the square root. I should have divided, but I'm just going to go with it. I'm going to square my 157. That's my b squared. These are ugly numbers. But Mr. Casaro is definitely not going to take his phone call while I'm making this video, or I'm going to beat him up. So he's leaving the room. Give him a second. So here's my negative 16 times my C value, all divided by 2A. He went running, you guys. Negative 16. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to do 4 times 16 times 124. And listen, you got to go about this carefully and don't lose your spot. So again, I have my negative 157 plus or minus the square root of this 24,649. My double negatives is going to give me a plus sign. And now my 4 times 16 times 124 is that 7,936, all divided by negative 32. So now I'm going to add to my 7,936, my 24,649. So plus 24,649. Enter. And I'm trying to carefully check my numbers as I go, because I hate, and that's, I think, if you're struggling, sometimes it's just silly errors, or we type it wrong in the calculator. Don't tell yourself you don't know what you're doing. You just have to do it carefully. And then the whole rounding concept, we got to be careful of. So now I have negative 157 plus or minus. I want to square root this. So second square root, second, my answer. I love that feature. So now I have this ugly decimal. So you know what I'm going to do? Because this is an ugly decimal, I am going to actually leave it in this form. Ready? And now watch what I'm going to do because of the rounding. So I'm not going to round it. I'm going to clear this out, and I'm going to go through typing it into my calculator once with the plus sign. So I'm going to do negative 157 plus second square root 32,585. All right, I'm going to hit enter. I'm adding them, and I'm going to divide by negative 32. And it's a negative value. I'm going to reject my negative value. I don't want the negative value. So now I'm going to do it again with my minus sign. So I'm going to do negative 157 minus second square root 32,585. And I'm going to hit enter. And I'm going to divide by negative 32. And now I'm going to get the positive 10.547, and that's 7. Now this one, if I scroll back up, said to the nearest hundredth of a second. And those are the things too. Be super duper careful, because that means you need 2 decimal places. So in here I'm using 2 decimal places. That 7 is going to bump that 4 up to a 5. All right, so I just wanted to go through a couple of these. I wanted this to be a short video. I hope it was short enough to keep your interest, but just pay attention to using that answer button and understand the rounding, and just know that in some of these cases, you have to use the formulas in order to get those numbers because they're just not as pretty. All right, I hope this helped. Any other questions we can go over in class. Don't over stress. Just try to pinpoint where you're losing your spot, and I can do my best to help you out. All right, thanks guys. Good job.